Sarah and anybody else who might be watching this. This is Brett Burke, and I'm going to respond to some of the questions that you asked me in the email so that you could get a sense of the true me, as you say. So the first question asked me for a reaction to the TLD charge. I think that what I saw in the charge is a lot of potential for good. I see that Newark is really struggling, Newark specifically, but also some of the other Passaic and some of the other places up north in Jersey. I see that there's a lot of potential for growth also in the TFA program. I see that that real-time coaches, I think, is a very good idea for Teach for America. I think having that instant feedback as a classroom teacher, myself in the Peace Corps, I can appreciate that the instant feedback is essential to learning, to working effectively, and everything else. I also like the school-based models and the clustering that you guys are doing. I think that those are great. I like that you want to center the actions on the students. I think, again, as a classroom teacher, that's essential, is to center the actions on the students, because that's why teachers are there for the students, not students are there for the teachers. So having the actions towards goals always explainable to anyone is fantastic, because I know as a Peace Corps worker that it's important to be able to state what you want, when you want it, and how you want it, so that everybody can fully understand what it is that you're working towards, so they can understand what they need to be working towards so they can contribute to the issue themselves. I think also that the collection of data, I think, is very important. As a Peace Corps volunteer, I know that a lot of what happened there is I would write summaries of the work I was doing and the work that the people around me were doing, so that Peace Corps could see what was effective, what was not effective, and work that into their trainings for future sessions. Because nobody wants to be wasting time doing something that could be done more efficiently, more effectively. Also that the commitment to leadership is not only instructional, which is important, but also that it's values-based, that it's always going back to the goal, that it's always an action towards a goal. It's not just doing something to do it, but that you're always bringing it back. And again, I know that that's essential for classroom teachers, that they need to make sure that they always are checking to make sure they're teaching what they're supposed to be teaching, that they have a goal in sight, that they plan backwards from the goal. I think that the growth in mindset, when you talk about asking and giving feedback and seeking non-congruent opinions, is great too. Because I know that it can be very easy to get lost in a world, especially in today's world where even Google will it only feed you the kind of articles that you want to see, that it's very important to seek out those non-congruent opinions, because they won't always come to you otherwise. That nobody likes being told they're doing something bad, but everybody needs to be told when they're doing things ineffectively, because that's the only way that we can grow and change as people. The other big thing in the growth mindset thing that I saw is the importance of understanding that we bring our own culture. After spending more than 5 years as a Peace Corps volunteer living in Lesotho and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I have a big understanding of how much we really bring our own culture into every situation that we interact in, that we make assumptions based on culture, that the language you use means different things in different cultures, and that it's really important that people understand that we bring the race that we are, we bring the culture that we're from, we bring these things into the situations that we interact in, that nobody sees things in a neutral eye. We can try really hard to see things neutrally, but we can't remove ourselves from culture, because there's no default of no culture. There's only my American culture, my New Jersey culture that I grew up in, I went to University of Vermont, so I picked up pieces of culture, and that we're all mixes of our culture, not because you're born in one place determines who you are, right? We all are mixes of backgrounds, and we all have cultural norms, but we all break them to greater and lesser degrees. Some people like to dress exactly like the culture tells them. Other people like to dress really strangely, but then they have the music that they follow is what, the mass culture, that we all find ways to deviate from the cultural norms so that we all bring our own personality, but we all have your culture is your baseline where you make those decisions about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, what is taboo and what's not taboo. As far as the misalignment, so I think that in summary of that, I think that these are the things that I'll be bringing to the position at Teach for America. I'll be working with those values. I'll be coming with that mindset, and that those are the things that need to be passed on to everyone else that I work with. I'm sure that a lot of people already have some conception, but I think that I can bring my own experiences to the table when it comes to dealing with foreign cultures, and how not, an American culture is, but also a New Jersey or a Catholic culture or a middle class culture, or whatever it is, that we all bring these elements to the table every time we sit down and have a conversation, or when we teach, or when we whatever it is that we're doing. What I did see is the misalignment for Teach for America is it puts all this emphasis on these things, but then I saw that only 45% of the teachers for Teach for America feel valued by the staff, and I think that that's something that definitely has to change. I'm interested in how Teach for America is addressing that now, because I'm sure they are. That seemed like the biggest standout, and also that only 40% feel that Teach for America, essentially they feel that Teach for America is a community. Because I know that that's a big thing in Peace Corps too, is they really want to push that Peace Corps is a community, that this is a family. It's not just a coworker relationship, and that you really need to be able to have that interaction, feel comfortable having those kind of conversations, the tough conversations that we need to have as TFA teachers, where often it's a white person put into a classroom of predominantly black people, or an Asian American put into a classroom full of Hispanic children, or whatever, that we need to be able to talk about what's making us uncomfortable, what we can do to change it, because otherwise it'll build up, and nothing good comes from that sort of a build up that occurs. So I did also see a lot of good. I saw that 65% of the TFA teachers feel confident that one day all students will achieve an excellent education. And that's great, that they're so enthusiastic that they still feel really good about what they're doing. And that 56% are working with their communities, 58% believe that time spent with TFA staff is well spent. So those are numbers are positive, but they certainly can be increased. And I'm interested to know what TFA is doing to try to bring those values up. So the second question was kind of in regards to reacting to conversations we have with teachers. Race and class are taboo subjects in America. It's difficult to talk about race and class comfortably in America. So they both need to be addressed. So I've spent a lot of work as a Peace Corps volunteer dealing specifically with diversity in religion, diversity in race, etc. Me and some other volunteers got together and we hosted a diversity youth camp where we took people in Lesotho. We took people from quite a few communities, got representatives from the student bodies to come in and learn about different races, different religions, things that they don't have a lot of exposure to, and then they had to go out and teach their communities and then come back to us. And they all reported that it was extremely effective, that they learned things about their community that they didn't know. They thought that they were all from one race, but it turned out that there are some people from other races or other tribes or backgrounds or whatever. I also had lots of conversations in staff rooms as a teacher in Lesotho and St. Vincent. So one specific anecdote I have is that St. Vincent teachers thought that Americans were generally unkempt, and this came up because they thought that I was well put together. They saw that I was dressing properly for school every day. And we ultimately traced it down to, there's a lot of tourists there, and when people are on vacation, they wear shorts, they wear t-shirts. If there's a hole in their t-shirt, they're not necessarily concerned. And as a result of that conversation, which just was a casual thing, it wasn't a planned thing, it wasn't a big meeting or anything else, both sides learned. I learned why some people in the community were less responsive to me when I first arrived, is because they assumed that I was sloppy, unkempt, that I would keep my house a mess. And they learned that, the reason this is happening there is not that Americans are generally unkempt, but that Americans on vacation are generally not, in wearing the cleanest things. They're not super concerned about that stuff. and that it's really important to have these conversations because everyone learns from a conversation like that. So the third question was a response to issues with job satisfaction. So America is a divisive with this stuff, with its cultural backgrounds, with its people. People always call it a melting pot, but I think that saying that America is a melting pot is not completely accurate. I think that there's an article from the Chicago Star-Tribune in the 80s where the author, whose name I don't recall, said that America is not a melting pot, but America is more like a savory stew, where all of our cultures kind of come together to an essence, and we take parts of each other's cultures, but a potato in a stew still tastes like a potato. A piece of chicken, a piece of beef in a savory stew still tastes like a piece of chicken or a piece of beef, but it's got the effects of the stew added onto it. So it's ultimately increased. Everyone benefits from it, or every part of the stew benefits from that sharing, but that it's a little bit, it's not just a melting pot where everything is the same at the end. So I'm curious about what causes the divide in satisfaction. So I was thinking whether it's home life, could it be something that's happening to them at home as a result of the job or what they're doing, or is it like a general culture thing? Do people look at them funny? Do members of their own communities that they live in treat them differently because of what they do? I know as a Peace Corps volunteer I was often asked why I wasn't in America saving Americans or working with Americans to better their education. So I wonder if the same thing is happening in Asian American and Hispanic communities, if they're being asked why aren't you in Thailand, if they're Thai, or why aren't they in South America if they're Hispanic, working with those people. So I wonder if that's part of the issue. It could also be something that's occurring on dissatisfaction is low because of things occurring on the job. I'm curious whether it's it could be any of these categories, but if it's on the job satisfaction that's low, are they not being respected in the classroom as a result of their race? Maybe that some of the children don't understand the Asian American culture or what have you. Or is it racism that's occurring in the staff room? I know that I myself have experienced those kind of things before, as I spoke about, and that talking about those things can help to resolve them. Or is it something that they're bringing? Is there something about Asian Americans or the Asian Americans who are not satisfied that they're bringing assumptions from their own cultural background into the classroom and they're not being met because those students have their own assumptions about what the teacher is? And I'm wondering whether these people have had those kind of conversations in their classrooms to try to, or with the staff or other teachers or Teach for America employees or coworkers from their cohorts or whatever. I'm wondering if that interaction is there. So I think that ultimately what it is it needs more data. We need to figure out the specifics. Is it the home life? Can we train them to talk to their families and friends about what they do, why they feel it's important? Is it the general culture? So if it's the general culture, it's obviously a little harder to work with, but then it becomes a question of what are people assuming about Teach for America workers and what are they assuming about Asian American Teach for America workers, and can we teach those teachers how to talk about their job and how to present themselves and what they do, because that's a very important part of being employed in any field, is learning to talk about your career, what's good, what's not, what's interesting to the general public, and what's appropriate to talk about and what's not. And if it's on the job, then can we encourage these teachers to have effective conversations in their classrooms about race, either with individuals or with other teachers or what they do, because they should know how to present themselves, and they should know that it's okay to acknowledge a race, it's okay to acknowledge other people's races, but you have to, in America this is a taboo subject, so you have to treat these things delicately. You can't just jump in and start making inappropriate jokes or whatever. But I think that ultimately what Teach for America can do is try to get more specific about why they feel dissatisfied with the job. So those are my responses to the questions. I realize I went a little bit long. I hope that that's okay. But I hope to hear more from you, Sarah, and anybody else who may be watching this video. Once again, Brett Burke, thank you so much.